It started with a car pulling into Clarence's house. No press, no cameras, no orchestrated fanfare. Just Prince Harry stepping out for a quiet, private meeting with his father, King Charles. That alone would have been headline material. But the real shock? Prince William didn't know. Not until the last moment. And in this family, exclusion speaks louder than inclusion. Charles and Harry had not seen each other in 19 months. Over a year and a half of silence marked by documentaries, pointed interviews and public tension, then suddenly a meeting. No lavish lunch, no overnight stay, not even an extended afternoon. Just 55 minutes of tea and conversation behind closed doors. When Harry left, reporters pressed him for details. He smiled, brushed it off casually, and replied, "Yes, he's great." Simple words, but loaded with implications. In the royal world, nothing is ever simple. Not the meetings, not the absences, and certainly not the silences that linger between them. As Harry offered warm words about his father, the palace itself buzzed with whispers of what had really taken place. According to insiders, King Charles laid down one unshakable rule before the meeting could even happen: absolutely no cameras. Not a single Netflix lens, not an iPhone snap, nothing. Harry could pay his respects at Queen Elizabeth's grave, but only if his production crew stayed away. No content, no quiet footage, no future clips for documentaries. Charles was adamant. This was about family, not publicity. And when such boundaries must be spelled out to your own son, it reveals how fractured things already are. The gathering was short, tightly controlled, and carried out under the king's watchful approval. But while Charles extended the invitation, Prince William never would have. Sources close to the situation insist William still blames Harry for adding unnecessary stress to the Queen's final years. For him, this meeting wasn't reconciliation. It was reckless, a reunion without consent, one that reopened painful wounds still unhealed. When William learned Charles had acted behind his back, it reportedly sparked a new wave of resentment. The tension between the brothers is hardly new, but this blindsiding move by their father may have reopened wounds left barely scarred. Some believe that is why the king excluded William entirely. He knew if he sought his eldest son's approval, it would never come. So he didn't ask. He simply acted. Yet that choice may have cost him more than expected. Behind palace doors, Queen Camilla is said to have quietly supported Charles's decision. She recognizes the bitterness that lingers, but also knows how much her husband misses his youngest son. Still, even she could not overlook the damage it caused William. A palace aide reportedly remarked, "Charles may be testing reconciliation, but by freezing William out, he's created an entirely new problem. And then, of course, there is Meghan, because when Harry is involved, her shadow inevitably lingers, shaping narratives and fueling fresh debate. Whenever Harry sets foot in London, Meghan inevitably becomes part of the discussion. This time, though, she was absent. For some, her absence was a calculated strategic choice. For others, it was a clear sign Harry was moving through this moment alone. Whatever the interpretation, the outcome remained the same. A solo journey, a brief meeting, and a storm of speculation. After tea with his father, Harry made his way to an Invictus Games event. He smiled for cameras, posed with sponsors, greeted ministers, and carried himself with the polished charm the world expects. Yet cracks appeared beneath the surface. He arrived 40 minutes late. Some pointed to traffic, while others suggested the emotional weight of seeing his father after nearly 2 years. Because 55 minutes might not sound long, but when it's your first real conversation in so long, every second matters. What fueled the intrigue most wasn't the meeting. It was the silence that followed. Harry, usually outspoken, stayed unusually quiet, leaving the world wondering what was left unsaid. There was no statement, no Instagram post, no carefully crafted leak. At least not yet. That silence alone caught many off guard. In the past, even the quietest royal encounters eventually found their way into documentaries, memoirs, or late-night interviews. This time, all the public received was a vague, "He's great, and a few polished smiles at a public event. It felt staged, cautious, like a man not performing for the world, but quietly attempting to prove something to the very institution he once abandoned. Still, the cracks were visible. Photographs from the Invictus reception revealed a different layer if you looked closely enough. The grin was there, but faintly strained. A face that seemed to whisper, "I'm holding it together, but barely." Behind the scenes, whispers told a heavier story. Allegedly, Harry walked in with hope, perhaps even a private list. He wanted some form of re-entry, a role for his children, maybe even a home near Windsor. Instead, according to insiders, the response was firm. No royal duties, no children's titles, no public apology. Just tea and a ticking clock. Goodbye stung, not only for Harry but for the story he has been shaping for years. The hope that one day his family might see his side, offer forgiveness, even a redemption arc. But this meeting did not unfold that way. If anything, it cemented the palace's boundaries. Charles may still love his son, but he will not reshape the monarchy for him. The palace made that point clear. Nothing was filmed, nothing shared. Even Harry's visit to Queen Elizabeth's grave reportedly came with one firm condition: absolutely no cameras. The king refused to allow a private moment to become Netflix content. No drama, no narrative spin, just quiet respect. That rule alone revealed how deeply he remains unsettled by past experiences when private encounters became public spectacle. Yet even with secrecy, whispers leaked. Insiders claimed Charles is now open to reconnecting with his grandchildren, Archie and Lilibet. Not reconciliation, not restoration, but perhaps a small, careful step toward something softer than silence. Charles has reportedly been missing his grandchildren deeply. It has now been 3 years since he last spent real time with them. Insiders say he loved the brief moments during the Queen's Jubilee celebrations, and those memories may have reignited his longing. While no official plan exists, some suggest the king quietly hopes Harry will bring the children back soon. The real obstacle is Meghan. Those close to her insist she remains extremely cautious about the royal family. After years of interviews, books, and televised revelations, whatever trust once existed has vanished. The idea of sending her children to London without her, into a royal setting she cannot influence, seems unthinkable. And if she were to come along, cameras would almost certainly follow. One palace source even joked it might take a small miracle to convince Meghan to agree to a truly private reunion. Because in this family, nothing remains simple, and every encounter carries weight far beyond the moment itself. Every visit, every handshake, every smile can be content. And in today's world, content is currency. But Charles is no longer interested in that kind of bargain. This was tea, not a trailer. Whether it becomes the start of something larger or remains a one-off moment of civility is unclear. Inside the palace, however, it is being treated as a test, a carefully controlled experiment that might open new doors or close them for good. Prince William, on the other hand, wasn't drinking tea, he was furious. Those close to him say learning that his father had met Harry without even a warning wasn't simply frustrating, it was deeply offensive. William had been told Charles was in London for medical appointments and official duties. At no point was Harry mentioned. By the time the truth reached him, the meeting had already begun, the door shut, his opinion irrelevant. That cut more than he showed. William has carried heavy responsibilities, reputation, and the burden of being the steady heir. Yet in that moment, he felt excluded. While William stood loyally beside the crown through scandal after scandal, his younger brother fired shots from across the Atlantic. To be blindsided by his father's private meeting with Harry felt like a slap. Not because William wanted to be included, but because it exposed something painful, that Charles didn't trust him to react with composure. That truth cut deep. Insiders say William views Harry as a man who made his choice and then set fire to the bridges behind him. He didn't simply walk away from the firm. He lit a match and watched it burn. The Oprah interview, the Netflix series, the memoir, each one, in William's eyes, was another attack. His stance is clear. You don't get to dismantle the house publicly and then expect to be welcomed back inside. So when Charles extended even a flicker of warmth, William interpreted it as betrayal. Camilla, meanwhile, has reportedly tried to keep the peace, understanding a father's fragile yearning for reconciliation and a son's unshakable loyalty to the institution. Even Camilla, insiders say, privately admitted Charles took a risk by cutting William out of the loop. This wasn't only family politics, it was trust. And trust is not repaired with an apology or a Sunday lunch. Adding pressure is the ever-present public eye. Headlines, commentary, and body language experts zooming in on every glance. Nothing slips past. Every smile, every silence sparks speculation. Was Harry masking disappointment? Was Charles softening? Was William planning a response? That is the royal trap. Quiet moments never stay quiet for long. Then another voice entered. Grant Harold, Charles's former butler, has a book on the way. In it, he claims the king no longer trusts Harry. Not because of one betrayal, but because of a repeated pattern. The Oprah interview, the Netflix series, the memoirs, the documentaries. Each eroded confidence until little was left. For Charles, reconciliation may still be entertained, but complete trust in his youngest son is gone. Charles, according to those close to him, fears that nearly anything he says could be turned into future content. That fear isn't without merit. Grant Harold, his former butler, describes a family once knitted together by laughter, shared drinks, and even motorbike rides, now torn apart by suspicion and outside pressures. He remembers Charles and Harry being exceptionally close, but everything changed when Meghan entered the picture. It wasn't simply about her. It was also about timing, ideology, and Harry's sudden rejection of the royal system. Harold doesn't directly blame Meghan, but he admits her arrival accelerated existing tensions, widening cracks into deep fractures. Today,